And hello, everybody. Welcome to In the Clubhouse with the Nats Report. I'm Hayden Raymer. I'm joined for the first time only by Henry. We are here to talk about some Nationals baseball. How are you doing today, Henry?
What's doing good? It is 2024.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Uh, just can't be more happier about it. Like
Yeah.
2024.
Mhm.
New year, things are exciting. We're here to talk Nationals baseball, spring training around the corner, college baseball right around the corner. Things are starting to heat up.
Are you more of a college baseball guy?
I pay attention to college baseball occasionally.
Okay.
I pay attention to LSU a
Yeah, I know.
lot because I
Yeah.
do like their football, but I love their baseball because they introduced me to an aspect of the MLB at the college level, which is if you put together a huge, heavy hitting squad, outfielding and stuff, and you develop them, you end up having a manager who wants to say something where it's like you made an error at second and you didn't turn the play. Do you know what to do there? And somebody comes in will be like an outfielder who has worked with them, or if they're outfielder play, they'll be like, hold on, let me speak. And the manager doesn't have to speak at all. Their players are so good that the manager just sits there and
Mhm.
knows that each player individually is going to understand whose job it is to tell them what they did wrong. The manager doesn't have to do it. And I learned that. And then when I saw the Nationals doing their whole World Series thing, at one point, Martinez realized he didn't have to intervene. He only had to intervene on balls and strikes or get involved in umpire. Like he could sort of relax, but also realize the team's being managed by his senior players. And
Mm.
that's something cool I've learned about college baseball. Like you build a squad, the players run the team. The manager just sort of sets the
Manages,
lineup and
yeah.
does the yeah. So just when the Nationals get back to that, that's just going to be such a cool thing when they finally get those prospects or that star player and that senior mobility. That's just going to be something cool, as well as that's just a goal I hope they get back to one day. Like I think they're there, but at the same time, they're not the standard where you can have the manager just manage.
Yeah. No, I mean they're probably another year or two away from that. 2024 is kind of that litmus test for them, so to speak. You
Mhm.
know.
It really is. And as we saw during August of 2023, they start pushing the limits almost wild card bound. Like they sort of went on that run into September and stuff and sort of went with it and beat some teams here and there. Had a no hitter loss against Philly. But the thing is, those moments are sort of laughable in 2023 for those who make the roster this year can come along and sort of laugh at them if they get a major win or if they uh, win the whole blessed thing. This year, those
Mhm.
just go into the memory book and are lost. Like, oh, look, blah, blah, blah. We did this against Philly and Philly did this against us. We had a horrible night. You remember when we were this and this? Like, it just, 2024 has that positivity you want to see in the Nationals.
Mhm. I
You
mean,
know,
speaking of positivity, I know you're absolutely positive about some changes coming in Nats Park. You want to talk about that real quick?
I am positive that they're not running it like Leonis. Okay, Leonis has helped the Capitals. The Wizards are just busted,
Yeah.
I guess you would say. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just they're just a mess at
Yeah.
this rate.
It is a mess. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm not a big basketball guy.
Neither am
But
I,
it's
but
it's a little funny. The clips are pretty
yeah.
funny.
And the Nationals have been there before,
Yeah.
in their prior days of Ryan Zimmerman, Adam Delman, them. But no, the changes that are coming to Nationals Park features getting some financial relief, money. There is no scoreboard right now. They're updating the scoreboard. Apparently, they've redone the lighting. Some people who have been to Enchant have noticed that the lighting is done. So, don't know what that means. Maybe the lights go out like the Braves do, and you have somebody come out the bullpen with the lights off, and then they cut on, or it does a little light show. I don't know, but there's some changes that financially help the Nats with the leasing and a better connection with the city, as well as just capital renovations that need to be
Yeah, no, I mean it's going to
done.
be a
Yeah.
new look Nats, both at Nats Park and as a squad.
Mhm.
I think there's just going to be a lot of changes on that squad on the major league side, uh, especially with a lot of the prospects that are going to be coming up either at the beginning of the year or into the year, and or coming back from injury in the case of Kate Cavalli. Uh, I guess where do you want to start on like the minor league start? Do you want to start from the bottom? You want to start from the top? I guess what's the most intriguing part of the national system for you?
The most intriguing part is we start at the bottom,
Mhm.
and man, what can I say? Everybody's like, man, is the bottom the rough part? The bottom is you sort of start in Fredericksburg,
Mhm.
and it's quite funny. If you're from Virginia, weather here can be a mystery around April and stuff. And it's sort of like you want to start in Fredericksburg because the more you go, the more north you go, you end up in freezing cold Rochester. So
Mhm.
it's like if you're a rookie coming out of spring training, you're just moving into a more chillier, wet, cold south in Fredericksburg.
Mhm.
And then if you play really well in May, it gets beautiful as you continue up to Wilmington,
Mhm.
Harrisburg, and Rochester. But the thing I can say is last year it was a sight to see for a little bit in the bottom. It was Brady House opening night, Elijah Green, and then you sort of saw Robert Hassel down in Fredericksburg for a little bit rehabbing. You saw some rehab things, and you sort of take small notes of that in the bottom. And one of the things I notice is they have slight little interactions, like even if it's on the dugout, maybe, or just sitting there or being in the same locker room. Someday they're all going to be in the same locker room, like in the near future or way off. But starting in the bottom of it, Fredericksburg is just looking to get back to the playoffs under Jake Lowry. I think that's how you pronounce it, right? Their head
Yeah,
coach.
former Jamie Duke.
Yes, such a positive guy. Um, Looking to get back there. And the one other thing that people need to know about Fredericksburg is if you're looking at a decent series or a long week series, I would definitely, Houston single A team is coming to Fredericksburg. That's a series just to watch because it continues with the National in Houston rivalry. The Nationals really don't play anybody division wise except Atlanta's single A team. Um, but those two series there are sort of just like a preview of what Atlanta has, what does Houston have, as well as I feel like it's one of those series to me that inspires the future players that are coming up to understand the organization's history. Um, Moving into that, Wilmington, I would definitely, when looking at Wilmington and who came up last year, I'm trying to think off my head, like it was Brenner Cox, right? Uh,
Like
James
that's
Wood.
were playing in Wilmington last year.
Yeah, it was James
T.J.
Woods for a little
White
bit.
was there for a while. Dalen Lyle came up after that good start in Fredericksburg. Uh, when I think of Wilmington, I think a lot of like their pitchers that they had. Uh, Kyle Luckham, I believe, had a really good year there. Andrew Alvarez. I mean, obviously pitchers are gonna have a little bit
Yeah.
better seasons there in High A.
Mhm.
Uh, with just the way those park factors work. I'm trying to think who else was up there.
We
Jared
had Sammy
McKenzie.
Infante.
Jared McKenzie.
Sammy.
Who?
Hmm.
Sammy Infante? Yes,
Sammy.
yes.
Yes.
I think Frankie
Yes.
Stasato pretty much played at every single level last year. Uh,
Hmm.
Murphy Stelly was up there for a bit, and then obviously the big prospects were up there for a while too. Birdie House was there for a little bit. James Wood was there for a little bit. Did Dylan
Hmm.
Cruz skip over High A? I cannot remember. I
He
think he.
skipped over high A.
Yeah, so he skipped
Just
over
like
High
that.
A. Uh, Yohani Morales and Andrew Pinkney were both there for a little bit.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I feel like High A is a little bit interesting on what prospects are all there. Kevin Made was there for a bit, who the Nats got
Hmm.
in the Heimer Candelario trade. I don't know. That's going to be an interesting one when they assign prospects after spring training on who all goes to
Hmm.
high A, because I mean, if you're reading into things, the Nats don't really keep a lot of hitting prospects there at high A very long. Uh,
They do
so,
not.
or at least ones they think highly of. Like Brady House, like James Wood, like Dylan Cruz.
Hmm.
Uh, so I'll be interested to see who all gets called up there.
Hmm. I definitely love Wilmington. I like the factors and seeing it. The park dynamics are interesting. You're a little bit more closer to the players. You're on top of them. And I remember traveling there to see them play 2 games last year, and it was the game that the Orioles' number one prospect, I can't
Jackson
think of the name,
Holiday.
came, scouts everywhere, packed in the
Oh
press
yeah,
box, just there.
Jackson
Yeah,
Holiday.
yeah, just there for him, and it was just packed with scouts there for him and stuff. Like you had San Francisco, you had all these places and stuff looking at it, and in my head, I was just trying to process it all. Like, I mean, you run in your head and you run through scenarios, and it's like, okay. Also, you're here scouting the Nationals. Like, is there anything I want from San Francisco? Anything I want from like the Red Sox? If you do a trade at the trade deadline, you look at what would you want from those teams? And it's just like I can't think of anything right now. Anything you want from San Francisco, anything you want from uh just Baltimore in general. And it was sort of like who the Nationals do business best with, and it sometimes seems like either San Diego or the Blue Jays pop up around the deadline. That's something more I'm looking at this year. Who do the Nationals over the past 10 years, couple years, have the best trading attitude with?
Yeah,
And that's
no, I
just
mean when the
something
A's were good, it was the A's as well.
Mhm. And that was something I wanted to sort of look more coming into 2024. When those speculations pop up, it's just like, so yeah, the Nationals are probably not going to trade with this team, but they have a better history with this other team.
Yeah.
Yeah. But definitely to see you know, see Jackson Holiday and James Wood, I think, was on the same field at the time. It was just interesting to see those two sort of compete and take that in and sort of put it on his radar that they'll meet sometime in interleague play in the near future. But moving on to Harrisburg. Harrisburg had everybody this year, and now the debate sort of becomes, does Rochester get a little taste of that? Or do they, skip ahead because what you said, there's money to be made if we put somebody
Yeah, picks to be
on the
made,
roster
more
opening day?
importantly, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's going to be money too involved with calling up a top prospect. Uh, no, that is a really interesting question of who all is on that Harrisburg lineup, because you can't have, even if you do call up, one of those prospects, you call up James Wood. You can't just
Yeah.
stick all of the Nationals outfield rejects in AAA and Dylan Cruz. Uh, I guess who do you think before we kind of delve deeper into the rosters, I
Hmm.
guess in your head, where do we place all these outfielders? Because even in like the lower end of the minors, you know, you still have Dalen Lyle. Jeremy De La Rosa is still a prospect.
Hmm.
Christian Vaquero made his stateside debut with the Fred Nats.
Hmm.
Elijah Green is still has all of the upside in the world. Uh,
Hmm.
Jonathan Thomas is going to steal 70 bases for you in the minors. So, like, I guess where do we
Hmm.
play all these outfielders? I don't know if you've mapped this out in your head. Do you have any idea of kind of, or do you have a preference on who goes where?
It's so you have to make when you're doing it,
Mhm.
you're gonna have to give away, release somebody at the Nationals level. You're definitely keeping Lane Thomas.
Mhm.
You bring up Dylan Cruz, you keep Jacob Young. You bring up James Wood, or it's sort of based on maturity. So in the head, you would have to look at all these players and just sit down, somehow get your hands on all their tapes, or watch all their games and see who's the most mature. Elijah Green, Elijah Green, still figuring it out. Sort of was in and out at Fredericksburg, still building. He'll definitely be in Fredericksburg
Yeah.
this season, and maybe late move up to Wilmington.
Mhm.
It happens. Everybody gets moved up at some late in time. Clean the house. New people are coming in. Best prospects, best draft prospects. it happens, but when you're thinking about it, I think you have to play Uno at one point and figure out which outfielder is the AAA outfielder that has to go to AAA before they hit DC.
Yeah.
And it might just be everybody from Harrisburg. I think Robert Hassel goes to AAA and then comes to DC
Okay.
because also if you are trying to compete with the Durham Bulls, that's another factor. Durham Bulls or Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs. If you really want to be competitive, you have to build a strong team in Rochester. I'd
Yeah.
love to have a strong team in Rochester as well as a strong Nationals team, just like Tampa Bay.
Yeah. I mean, I guess so. You are more in the boat of sending Robert Hassel up after the season he had uh in Harrisburg.
To AAA, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I guess kind
Hmm.
of under under Henry's perfect world, what is our opening day? Because I know we have a lot of like Rochester people who read the Nats report, listen to the Nats report.
Hmm.
Uh, what is kind of in your head? Okay, factoring in Lane Thomas is obviously going to be in the majors. Uh, I think Stone Garrett's a lock to be in the majors, right? Uh,
Yes, no doubt.
do we think Jacob Young is a lock to be in the majors?
Jacob Young, yes,
Yeah. Okay.
is yeah, yeah. I really want to say yes. He's a lock to be in the majors, but then uh, Alex Call,
He's in AAA.
he's in AAA,
Yeah,
sadly.
yeah, I agree. Now, here's my question for you. Do you put, because I think if you had to call up one of the two big outfield prospects, James Wood, Dylan Cruz,
Mhm.
which one do you think makes the most sense to call up? Who do you, I guess, because I mean, you've seen both these players play in person, correct?
Mhm. In Fredericksburg,
In Fredericksburg?
and
Okay. I mean, do
yeah,
you have a preference between the two in the way, in their style of play, or in where you think they are right now?
I think it's James Woods over Dylan Cruz
Okay.
because his maturity factor going to the All Star game, he just has this pop. He has this feeling of hard work ethic as well as just getting on base. Like he's got this mentality that you see in the face, and it's just like his nonverbals are like, I just need to get on the base. I just need to smash the ball into the outfield. But also he knows sometimes what he wants to do better. And sometimes it's playing better in the outfield or not just hitting an RBI. It's trying to leave the park or trying to work on his baseball IQ. I think he's more mature. I think having him in the All Star Future game last year was a big step in the right direction. He got to see other people baseball IQ that are at his level and some that are below his level, and it was just interesting to take that in and watch that on Peacock last year. You know,
Yeah, no. I think James Wood is probably gonna be the favorite there. Just like you said, I mean, he just has way more experience at the minor league level.
Mhm.
They're roughly the same age, right? I mean, James Wood's actually
Yeah,
younger than Dylan Cruz, but like he has way more professional experience in affiliated baseball. So it probably makes more sense to have him on that major league roster. Do you think he gets the call?
he gets the call, and it's the last week of May.
Okay. Do you think Victor Robles then? I believe he still has an option. Do you think he starts the year in AAA? Do you think he's
Starts the year in AAA, works his way up.
okay? Yeah, no, I agree. I think with Jacob Young and how he kind of broke out, I think it makes a lot of sense if they get him regular plate
Yeah.
appearances down in AAA and kind of have him try to take the crown. I mean, obviously it can be competition in spring training as well, but
Mhm.
I agree. I think we're on the same page here. So
I
then,
think what you got,
oh no, no, go ahead.
I think what you have to do is give Victor Robles AAA, build it up, build him up, and then if I'm Rizzo, I think you do put him on the trading block and show that he still got it at the AAA level, and let the other teams sort of work with that and see what we can get in return. We definitely need a first baseman.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't think you get much more than cash considerations for Victor Robles, and I doubt you get a whole lot of cash considerations for Victor Robles. Uh, it, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, with what he's done at the major league level, and in the track record of what he's done at the major league level, it's not that he's been up for, he had a 2 week cup of coffee and was terrible. Like,
Mhm,
he hasn't been great for a while.
mhm,
2019 was his best year. And we're pretty
mhm,
far removed from 2019. Surprise! It's been like 5 years. It's crazy.
mhm.
Uh, Still wrapping my brain around that it's been 5 years since the start of 2019. Uh, but yeah, no. So I guess we have Alex Call in AAA. Is Dylan Cruz in AAA, or do you start him in Harrisburg?
He's in AAA.
He's in
You
AAA.
you
Okay.
just yeah. You have you have some outfielders that are going to go to AAA.
So you have
Dylan
like
Cruz, Robert
Vic,
Hassel,
Robert Hassel,
Alec Call, Dylan
Alex Call.
Cruz,
Okay.
James Wood. James Wood makes it AAA, but he isn't there the full season. Like he isn't there August or July. He's there May.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
So I guess
but
then in Double A, do you think then it's kind of just Andrew Pinkney? Do you think Dalen Lyle? Who's at
mm,
center fielder? Is it Jeremy De La Rosa?
you see how Jeremy De La Rosa does at High A. Bring him up to Double A. But I think it is who am I thinking of? Yeah, it is not him, but it's
Cody
Andrew Pinkney.
Wilson?
It you probably do bring up Cody Wilson and you let the other stuff sort out. I'm running out of names for outfielders, but man,
Yeah,
you
no,
sort of do.
that Double A, either that Double A roster or or the High A roster has like not a whole lot of talent. Uh, no offense to the players who
Yeah.
end up there, but one of those teams aren't gonna have like your top 30 prospects, and it feels like all the other ones are gonna have like a bunch of guys and a bunch of names to know, sort of thing.
hmm And I think if you want to ask me that question, the top to bottom thing, uh, I'm willing to answer it now. I mean, just looking at our top to bottom, were we saying it was like
I guess
high,
who's your
low?
favorite prospect in national system?
Number one overall, sort of a wild card is Susanna,
Okay.
the pitcher. The pitcher at the very top. But the reason I like him is because I've sort of spoken to him
Mhm.
um, and gotten to know him a little bit. But I've seen on Instagram, like I follow some of these guys on Instagram, see how they're doing, who they're communicating with, and seeing them sort of work and grind on the off season. And he comes in for maybe you'll only see him if you get to the ballpark the first two innings. It's not just because of his pitch count. It's just because of how crazy he pitches or how high his pitch count gets. And man, the thing I can tell you is that he might go one or two innings.
Mhm.
And in my head, because you see that, you're sort of like, he might fit into the bullpen. But also, I think at heart, he really wants to be a starter who he can go 3-2. And I think he can go 3 innings. I know he did go 3 innings, but I think
I
it's
think
those
he
later
was
innings for
hard capped on like 4 innings this
him.
year. Uh, at least from like checking the box score for like the morning briefing, every time he pitched,
Hmm hmm
he was kind of like 4 innings and done. Which yeah, no, he's really interesting as a prospect. I would have to like dive into his numbers a little bit more, but I feel like he doesn't strike out as many guys as you would think a guy who throws 100 at low A baseball would strike out,
hmm
which is kind of a tendency in the national system where I feel like Jackson Rutledge, with how big of a guy that guy is and how hard he throws, like in your brain, you're like, oh, this guy strikes out the world. But no. Which I mean that's the fun thing about baseball. I guess I'm trying to
Hmm.
look at the numbers here. 63 divided by 17. He was, yeah, a little under 4 innings to start essentially.
Hmm. And that's just the thing overall. Is just like, is he a bullpen or a starter? And in your head, as you move along in the future, they say it's 2027, and that's probably is correct. Like when he'll be called up officially to the Nationals, but it's also just more so about control, more so about as you go deeper. Once you get to Double A, you're going to have to make a decision: is he a starter or does he come out the bullpen because of how many innings he's pitched?
Yeah, I mean, do you think he kind of fits
Yeah,
more in that reliever mold? Would I mean, I guess how quickly? Because I'm a firm believer in you got to get people. Baseball is a game about
yeah,
consistency and rhythm, and I think the earlier you track a player onto that relief cycle, even if there's a question mark, I think it's better in their
yeah.
long-term trajectory to convert them to reliever quicker. Is what I'm trying to say in a better way, but I can't think of it.
Hmm.
Uh, I guess do you think it makes more sense to? I guess when do you think?
I think it
There we go.
makes more.
How when would
I think
you make that change?
you make that change, you attempt it in spring training
Okay.
with everybody watching, with all the coaches coming down from Rochester down to Fredericksburg, and you sort of sit down as well as you speak to the guy who's worked with him the most, which is Jake Lowry, and you sort of ask him, okay, from where he's been, how would you want him to advance? Do you want him to be in the bullpen? Should we give him a chance to come out the bullpen and come in the fifth, pitch the sixth? Like, does that fit the build? If not, I don't know. But also, those are the people they have to sort of speak to, get their perspective, because you sort of have to set the plan. If we're moving this guy from Fredericksburg to IA, everybody sort of just got to be on board, as well as the person of Dave Martinez who keeps him updated. The person as well is going to keep him updated that it's coming along if you're trying to move him. But at the same time, as an but that's an organization decision, I think, overall, to start moving.
Yeah, no, I mean that's definitely an organization philosophy. I don't think the yeah, I think as a prospect, right? Sasana's lost a little bit of his
Hmm.
shine. When he came over in that
Yeah.
trade, Nats fans were super excited. We're now kind of like a year removed, maybe I don't know, 2 years removed almost from that trade. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
this July will be 2 years removed. Uh, and I think some of that shine has washed off a little bit on him. Uh,
Hmm.
but I mean, I still have high hopes. I mean, you talk about a guy who throws as hard as he does, who has a slider as good as his. There's, it's just the command is really, and that control is really the make or break for him.
Moving on, I think the other thing to talk about here is I think somebody that's due for a breakout season
Hmm.
um, is definitely Brennan Cox.
Okay.
Um, Definitely for trying to remind myself what position outfield, right?
Yeah, he's an outfielder.
Definitely a guy that comes off the bench, but eventually makes it into the starting lineup, an everyday type of player. Slowly as the season progresses, I see him making it to Double A by the end of August, and you know, just having a breakout. That's my expectation is that he does make it to Double A at some point.
Like
Um,
this year,
I feel like
2024.
he's yeah, yeah. Um, I don't know why I see that. Don't know why I feel it, but I feel like um, everybody this offseason of what I've seen on Instagram so far from some of these players is they're all working out. They're all grinding at their personal gym.
Hmm.
Everybody has sort of either um, grind it separately at these big factory gyms or has moved away from their college. It's interesting. LSU has a amazing gym program. Um, they have lockers of Alex Bregman, famous LSU baseball players, individual personal lockers for recruiting reasons, but also players come there and work out. And I don't know if Dylan Cruz or Gavin Dugas and them are using it, but some of these players who have been drafted tend feels like what I've seen. I don't know for sure. Seems like they don't come back to their college to work out. Like they've found these personal gyms, these places that they're renting out or working in Florida or something close to the Nationals complex.
Yeah, no, I
But
mean there's
it's
Drive
interesting.
Line, Shred, or like your kind of your big ones.
Mhm. It's all about these investments and all about the impacts they're making in the offseason. I think Brenner Cox is doing some amazing work and is maturing himself. I feel like I haven't personally seen that, but I feel after the season he had and some signs that I've seen and some of the things I like about him, the hitting, the way he sort of works the outfield and prowls it, he seems like he's due for an outbreak.
Yeah, no, I mean I would be shocked if he made it all
Hmm.
the way to Double A, because that is quite the leap from like High A for a guy who's entering his age 20 season. But you know what? If it happens, I props to you. All the claps for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't
And
know. I'm
and
big
then
on a. Oh, no, what are you gonna say? What do you got?
no, no, no. So yeah, no. You go ahead. I was moving on to low.
Oh yeah, no. I had a prospect who I really like. And I'm forgetting it.
Was it Brady House?
My headphones did the thing where they disconnect. Okay. I'm a big Cole Henry guy. I'm really interested to see him in relief. I'm not necessarily saying there's going to be a breakout, but if there was a time for him to break out and to make that giant leap, this would be the time. Because honestly, like if it doesn't show anything this year with the track record of TOS surgeries, not very optimistic. But if he's gonna break out, this is the year. Control was a big issue for him. The long ball was a big issue for him. Uh, there was some unluckiness with the batted ball, especially. I mean, 10.31 ERA at Double A isn't the greatest thing. Uh, I'll be the first to say that. But struck out a ton of dudes. Uh,
Hmm. He's on our 40-man roster.
yeah, he's on the 40-man roster, so there's clearly some optimism within the Nats organization. Uh, I hope he rebounds great, has a great season. I think he's a guy who, I mean, we could see him on the Nationals by the end of by the time we do expanded rosters in September. I wouldn't be shocked if he was on the Nats. I also wouldn't be shocked if he
He might
wasn't on the
even.
Nats.
Mhm. I would be shocked if he's on their opening day, like because they put him on the 40-man roster. They saw something in the
Well, that was to
offseason. I don't
protect him
know.
in the
That
Rule 5 draft, but
yeah. Uh, okay. I was
yeah,
sort of excited, like, oh snap, we get him opening day, yes. But no,
no,
he's a great guy, another LSU prodigy. Um, man, no, his Instagram's kind of funny. Like, there's a picture of him holding his rib because they had that surgery where they
had to remove
I
it to
forgot what it is.
TOS. Thoracic
Yeah.
outlet syndrome, something. Uh, but yeah,
Mm.
TOS.
And he has it in like a little jar or whatever. It's just like something about like one less rib or whatever. It's just like that is that's kind of interesting fact to know. Like,
Yeah,
hey guys, I'm here on the roster. By the way, I don't have as many as you do, but it comes with the territory as a pitcher.
yeah. I mean, I'm sure Strauss was making that same joke. Uh,
Mm.
Nats and the TOS guys. Sorry, my cat really wants
Stra-
to be sitting in my face today.
Strauss, I tell you, the Strasburg thing. Personally, I believe you keep Strasburg and you don't use him as a pitcher. You use him as more of a weapon to develop from Fredericksburg to Rochester. You sort of, if your pitcher is injured, I believe the MLB and they're going to be out for the season and they're just going to be sitting around the clubhouse doing numbers and things. You should sort of send them out on scouting. like to the younger players. Personally, my personal belief is you send them to the nationals. They start the nationals, go to broadcast. Like they help these younger players develop, as well as they're able to sort of report back to the manager and pitching coach. Be like, here's what I saw. This isn't coming from a pitching coach standpoint. This is coming from my standpoint. Like I was down there for 3 games, just sitting there taking numbers, taking inventory, working with them, sort of looking at it, and I saw this from someone who looks exactly like Jackson Rutledge. Like, I think if a player in the MLB gets injured, they should be used as more of like a weapon. Like after they've recovered from their surgery but are still resting and are out completely for the season, you can send them around the minor leagues to get these players sort of connected with you, you know, as well as just build that connected bond.
Yeah, I mean it's a little bit different with Strasburg just because I don't know how much of the reports you've read where like there was a lot of like quality of life issues with him where like he couldn't stand very long, you
Mm-hmm,
know, sort of stuff like that, just from the unfortunate
yeah.
reality of that injury.
Mm-hmm,
And then I think there also reports that the relationship between the Nats ownership slash front office and him
mm-hmm.
has soured quite a bit because of the whole retirement, no retirement thing. Uh, so I'd be a little shocked if he was going out and doing that. But
Yeah.
no, I mean that's a good idea. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's definitely was the Nationals' goal was to have him stick around as a mentor type thing, kind of like how we saw Parra do uh, at the big league
First
level
base coach
last.
now.
Yeah, at the big league level last year. Now he's their first base coach, and Zim's been around a little bit too. Uh, yeah,
Um, and then I think the other thing is someone I'm sort of low on.
yeah, who's a
Really
prospect
trying to think.
that you think is overrated? I guess is another way of putting it. I mean it's a little
Not.
down on the dumps, but copping that
I'm
little
looking
tweet that
at
was
it,
going around.
and I think if I'm looking at positions overall, I can't name them off the top of my head, but it's our first base problem that just has to be fixed. I can't think of who we have there, but from AAA down to single A, it's
I
just
think
sort
T.J.
of
White is the only real prospect, and
yeah,
yeah, I,
just sort of down on that. Like it's just like oh, the rumor of trying to get Reese Hoskins, but at the same time um, just that area. Like you look over there, it's just like you want something flashy and exciting to pop up, but it's just like maybe in 2 years or so. I don't know. I'm not. I'm
Well, I
kind of
mean,
down on
listen,
it, but
there's a
yeah,
guy in the draft who you might be aware of, Henry. You might even be a fan of him, who is on the rankings is around that 8 to 12 range. The Nats pick at 10. I don't know if you ever heard of
yeah.
him. His name's Tommy White. Probably doesn't play third base in pro ball. Probably moves over to first as a professional.
Hmm.
Uh, like I said, I don't know if you've ever heard of him. Uh, you big LSU guy. I don't know if you ever heard of that nobody Tommy
No,
White, but
no. No.
yeah.
Yeah, I've
So
heard he doesn't rake the ball.
there's
I heard he doesn't
higher
even hit
high hopes.
nukes.
Like I said, I
Yeah.
think I don't know how much you listen to the podcast. Listen to me ramble. Uh, Stone Garrett would be a great first baseman,
Hmm.
in my opinion.
You know, getting that. But yeah, no, I could see that. Like you have to. The thing is, you can't get rid of. You can't be an angry Nats fan where you're like, get rid of Stone Garrett. He's not performing. You have to have seniority, or else there's sort of a crumbling effect. Like only, yeah,
No, there
it
has to be a
becomes a problem.
veteran in
It's
the
like,
locker room, yeah.
yes, where some people are like, oh, you don't need veterans. The veterans will develop over time. It's like you sort of need a veteran, to control it. Like I think you saw that with Trey Turner during the World Series run stuff. I think him and Max Scherzer had a really strong connection because Max Scherzer knew a little bit more, but at the same time, he saw the veteran locker room. It was either him, it was either Strasburg. I mean, there was a lot of veterans on that club or had senior
That
leadership.
was an old roster. Pretty much everybody on
Hmm.
there was old.
And yeah, but I mean, man, just thinking about it. everybody that was on there, but it was just like that's how you get it done. You have to have veteran leadership. You can't. You have to have veteran leadership. Like you look at the Dodgers. Oh, that's great. You signed two amazingly great pitchers and stuff. However, during that whole dealing or whatever, you really had to hopefully sat down and addressed how does he do with senior leadership. Like some people never check that box. Like some people partially check it 45% of the time. Next thing you know it, you're having outbursts. You're either losing the locker room or there's just failure to work as a team because they don't like the idea of someone having more knowledge, a stronger baseball IQ. They can't accept that.
Yeah,
And the Nationals in 2019 were able to accept it. And I think this year, even last year, they accept it. The Nationals organization, for some reason, does a really good job and they recruit players where they accept it. They accept
that's
seniorship, you know?
that's yeah. I think that's one of the like managerial tactic wise. I disagree with Davey Martinez a lot. One thing I will never be able to nag him about, I guess, so to speak, would be his leadership. I think he does a really good job of running the clubhouse
Mm-hmm.
and establishing a really good culture, uh, and that's clubhouse. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Did you have any other thoughts about the Nationals and anything today?
My final closing thoughts is that no matter what happens over these next couple of months, training camp, if we don't get the wild card, we don't even get into a division round. The important thing is the pay attention to the small things this season with the Nationals. And one of those things is currently as an Eagles fan, there's talk of did we lose the locker room? The Nationals, that's one of the small things you just got to check in your head. Coming through July, coming up to the trade deadline, or even the first 2 weeks, you just got to make sure. Like if you are sitting there and you're listening to the press conferences and stuff, you got to make sure what's the tone of the voice? Did they lose the locker room already 2 weeks in, or is the lineup just need to be changed? Like that's a thing. A lot of things are going to happen in 2024. A lot of next men mentality, and ready sort of for baseball season, spring training to start. Um, yeah, I'm interested to see what's happening, who's moving, and what is the final roster going to look like.
Yeah, no, 2024 is certainly going to be a year of change. Henry, thank you so
Hmm.
much for joining me tonight. It was a pleasure speaking with
Hmm.
you about Nationals baseball. I hope to have you on again at some point in the future. Uh,
Hmm. Hopefully, I can do a better job of naming names and
it's all good.
speaking Nationals
I got a,
baseball.
I got a lot of notes, so you're all good. I'm always here to spot you.
Hmm. I
Well,
will do better next time.
you're all good. Don't worry about it. Everybody, thank you for
All right.
listening. I hope you all have a great and happy new year. Hopefully,
Mm-hmm.
2024 brings a lot of positive changes